Hi, welcome to this video series. This is the first in the series and it's going to be making a pool game from scratch. We're going to be building it in JavaScript. It's just browser based using HTML5, JavaScript, you know, the canvas element, all that sort of stuff. So first thing we need to do, well, first thing I'm going to do anyway, is to design the table. So I'm going to be using the equivalent of a 7-foot table. And I've looked at the dimensions of this online, and the playing area is 78 inches by 39 inches, and that's rail to rail. That's not, you know, including the rails. So first of all, we need to figure out how big this is going to be on the screen. So I want it roughly around 600 pixels, so I'll get a calculator here and we'll calculate across. So let's say 8 pixels per inch, so that's 8 multiplied by 78 gives me 624, and that'll do. Yeah, that's close enough. I mean 7 is going to be a little bit too low. 7 times 78, yeah, so 624, and then 39 multiplied by 8 is 312. So we can create a canvas in Photoshop. (624 by 312). Okay, so that's the size of the table, and we can just sort of fill that in with a green color for the cloth. We can change that at some point. Okay, I'll place a guide in the middle. It should snap. There we go. Middle, and then I'm also going to put them at the edges. You'll see why in a minute. Oops. Oh dear. Grab the wrong thing. Okay, so there's the rulers at the edge. Okay, so that's basically the cloth. Now we need to put the rails in. So in order to do that, we're going to have to increase the size of the canvas. So I'll go to the canvas size, and the rails are, if I remember rightly, the rails are 13 pixels based on those dimensions. So we need to increase it by 26 pixels all around. So that's 312 plus 26 is 338, and 624 plus 26 is 650. Okay, and those are the rails. So we can color the rails in now. So I'll create a new layer, and then we'll color those in, let's say a darker color. So fill, swap those around, there we go. So that's the basics of it. So the next thing we need to do is to put the pockets in. Now the pockets are, the corner pockets should be a diameter of 40 pixels based on those dimensions, and the center pockets are a diameter of 34 pixels. That's the hole, you know, the hole in the table where the balls drop in. Corner pockets are slightly bigger. So, and basically the corner pockets center is the actual corner here. All right, that's the actual center. So let's do the corners first. So we'll create a new layer. Bloody thing. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to need a black color, and we'll select ellipse, and we've got fixed size. I've already got it on here because I've been messing about, and we want 40. Okay, so that's 40 by 40. Okay, and this needs to be, the center needs to be on the corner. So if we zoom in here, We only really need to do one because we can copy paste it to all the other four corners. Okay, so oops. Okay, we need a rail on the very edge there and there. Okay, now let's see if we can do this again. Okay, so it needs to be central to that edge. There we go. That's it. Okay, so that just needs filling in black. There we go. And that's the pocket. Right, so at the moment it's not quite right with the, so I'll just take that pocket off. Okay, so my rail layer currently is fully that color, and I only want the edges. So best way to do this is select that layer, and to select the transparency for that layer, and then delete that away from this layer, and that will leave just the edges. Okay, there we go. Now this layer, this needs to be filled in completely with that color. Had a selection on, sorry. Okay, so completely filled. We'll switch those layers around. Okay, that's better. Now I can delete from the rail layer and reveal the cloth underneath. Okay, so it's 45 degrees. So it's basically going to come out like that. Yep. And same here. Come out 45 degrees. Like that. Then we just need to remove everything inside those guides. I'll pause while I do that. Okay, so that's the corner pocket basically. It's pretty simple. So we need to replicate that that arrangement onto each four corners of the table. So we'll show the whole thing. Yeah, and we need that on each of the four corners. So I'll just basically copy paste that across, and I'll pause while I do that because it's just boring. Alright, there we go. So now we've got basically three layers. We've got the pockets, the rails, and the cloth. And the cloth just fills everything. So now we need to do the middle pockets. Now the middle pocket is a little bit smaller, so this is going to be 34 pixels. So let's get this, 34 by 34. Okay, and what happens with this is it should be central there, okay, across the middle line, and it should be touching the edge of the rail. So basically where the rail ends, the pocket ends as well. It's basically a tangent to the edge of the pocket hole. Okay, so that looks okay. So we'll switch to the pocket layer, that's that layer, and that needs to be filled in black. Okay, so that's the center pocket. Now, the center pocket, just a second. Yeah. So the rails on the corners of this aren't at 45 degrees. They're a little bit shallower than that. So I'm going to come down 2 pixels down by 1 across this time. So delete. We need to be in the rail layer, which is that one. Okay, so 2 pixels, 2, like that. Oh, like that. We're just left with 1 there, but that's okay because it sort of rounds it off a little bit. Okay, so the same here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Like that. Okay, then we can get rid of everything either side of that. So I'll pause while I do that because that's again boring. Okay, there we go. So there's a center pocket, and we basically need to replicate that down to the bottom here as well. Okay, so I'll do that now. Okay, there we go. Save that. So we've got the basics, but I mean, it's looking a little bit, you know, computerized, isn't it? We need to make it look a little bit better than that. So we'll add some shadows. So easiest way to do that, we're going to add some shadows to the rails. So if we take the transparency of that layer there, we'll create a new layer, switch those around. Yep, so this is the layer we're on. And what we're going to do is we're going to expand that by 2 pixels. Yep, and then fill it with black. Okay, then if we put the rails on, you can see that's created a drop shadow, but it is a bit, you know, it's still a bit computerized, isn't it? So what we can do there is blur it. So if we get a Gaussian blur here, we need to do it a little bit more than that. Might be a bit too, might have to just drop the opacity of that layer a little. Okay, so we'll do it about 2.1. Okay, I'll get rid of those guides now. Okay, and we'll drop the opacity of that layer so that the shadow isn't so prominent. There we go. We can muck about with that later anyway. Okay, so that looks a bit better there. Now the pockets as well, you know, the edges are very aliased at the moment, so we can do the same thing. We can blur those just to make them blend in a little bit. Okay, so blur Gaussian. Okay, that's too much. So we'll come back just to get rid of that sort of pixelated edge. Yeah, that'll do. And then the edges of the rails as well. So which are those? Yep. We'll drop that down to about 0.5, I think. There we go. I'm just going to bring the shadow up a little bit more. Alright. So let's look what that looks like actual size. Yeah, that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Now, the center of the table, the cloth, we want that to be, you know, we don't want it to be a constant color, so we're going to select a radial fill there, and let's see, okay, so center to out. There we go, that looks a bit better. Okay, so that's the main area of the pool table. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, looks okay. Might want to just round those corners off a little because it's a little bit, no, I don't know. Okay, so now we've just got to get the edges on. That's the next step. Alright, so we got to make some room. So we need 32 pixels either side, so that's 64 in total. So we've got to expand the canvas by 64 pixels in both directions. So, okay. Okay, so that's the surround for the table. Now before we start on that, I'm just going to just put the rails on. I'm going to grab the selection for the rails there, and I'm going to contract that down by about, I don't know, about 4 pixels. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to fill that in just a slightly darker green than that one, just to add a little bit of texture to those rails. Hit it, fill. Okay, it's a little bit, needs to be blurred in a little bit, so let's just zoom into there a bit. Okay, so filter, blur, Gaussian. There we go. Just gives them a little bit of a texture there. Just blur them a little more. That's it. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So, right, now we've got to put the outside on. Now, outside of a pool table is usually made of wood or some kind of, you know, wood veneer over the top of plastic. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a picture of something wooden, and then I'm going to scan it into the computer and use that to build the outside. I'm going to apply a mask and a fade so that I can get it sort of curved, get that sort of curved look to it. So I'll go and do that now. See you in a sec. Okay, I couldn't find anything in the house really good enough to take a picture of, so I went online, looked for some free textures. Found this one. I think this will be okay. It's rather a large picture, so I'll have to scale it down. So I only need it to be the length of the image, so we can scale that across. So if I get to the image size, it only needs to be 714. So we can scale that down. So let's just grab a bit of that. We'll paste it into here. Okay, at the top. Right, now we have to sort of make it go a bit strange, so a black band. So I need a new layer. Okay, then I create a black band. Oops. Across the top like that. And also one there. Okay, so that layer I can now blur. Okay, there we go. And then just drop the opacity. And that should create a rounded effect, which I think it has. Okay, that isn't too bad actually. So I need to replicate that down to the bottom. So I'll do that now. Okay, so that's on the bottom. Now we need to go to the side. Duplicate that layer there. And then we need to rotate by 90 degrees. That's why. Okay, that's the wrong side. It needs to be that side. Okay. Okay, I'm reasonably happy with the way that is. So now we need to put the holes into the corners and the middle pockets, so the actual full-size holes. So we'll get on with that now. First of all, I'll just merge all of those into one layer. There we go. Right, so the corners are on the corner pockets there. I believe they have 40 pixels, so 40 and 40. Okay, and we need to be on the wooden layer, which we are. Just make sure those line up the same. They do. Okay, then we can cut that out of that. So we need to fill that in black, don't we? Okay, edit, fill, foreground color. There we go. So that's that corner hole. Okay, so there's the corner holes. Now we need to do the side holes there as well, the side pockets. Now those were, I believe, 34. So 34, 34. Okay, so it's starting to take shape pretty well actually. Quite. So next thing, we need to put the, because on the corner pockets you get some, like a bit of metal around the corner pockets, and on the side pockets on some tables. I'm going to put them on this anyway. So now we need to do sort of a metal effect around there. Okay. Actually, before we do that, let's do the lighting effects for the pockets. So we're going to need a radial fill. So I'll select gradient. Okay. And we just need a standard gradient. Just foreground to background. And we're going to need to go from black to not so black, like greyish. Okay. And going to need the same size, so 40 pixels by 40. This needs to be smoothed out and everything. No, not really. Now, this is pretty hard to do. We've got that corner there as well, so I'm going to have to chop that off. Oh, there we go. Right, I think that's looking okay. Yeah, I like that. I'm just thinking it'd probably be better to do the metal corner as well at the same time here. So I'm going to put the guides back on. Okay, I can get rid of these now. Okay, and they usually start from where the rail ends there. I'm just going to come in. There we go. So it goes from there to there. Okay, so the metal part is going to go to the left and above those guides that I've just put in. Okay, so to do metal you generally have to go from light to dark to get that kind of effect. So I'll create a new layer here to do this. And I'm basically just going to fill all of that. Hang on, I need to snap to the guides. Okay. I'm going to fill that in white. Not just slightly off white. Just go down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so fill that in that colour. Okay, that was a long, slow, boring process to do metallics, so I just paused. It's basically you just fill, you just make a black band going across here, then blur it, and then just add contour lines across there just to give it reflective properties, and that's it. And then a little white band around there just to show the ingoing curve into the pocket. So all that needs now is to be replicated down onto each four corner. So let's do that now. Okay, so there we are, replicated to all four corners. So what we got left, we've got to do the I don't know whether we'll bother with the metal in the middle. So we just need to anti-alias the edges there on the middle pockets. So we can probably just blur that. So let's have a look. Yeah, so we'll blur that. Use the blur tool. There we go. And the bottom one. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We've just got to put the diamonds on the edges now. And I think we'll have a pretty viable pool table to start the project with. So, diamonds, we need some guidelines. So let's show the guides. So we've got the positions now for all the diamonds on the edges, and then with this line is going to be the kitchen line, and that will be your foot spot. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we've created a new layer for the diamond, so let's drop onto here. Okay, so we'll do this in white, use a pencil. Okay, so there's the central part. Yeah, that's okay. And we'll just blur those in a little bit. But we need to replicate them across, so let's turn the guides back on. Okay, so there we go, got them all there. That's the layer. Okay, so we'll turn those guides off. Okay, they're a bit stark at the moment, so we're just going to blur them a little. Okay. It's a little bit too much actually. It's only 0.7. Yeah, okay, that'll do. And we'll drop the opacity a little, so they're not so... There we go. Sorted. There we go. So let's see what that looks like in actual size. There. So now, save. Table's done. Oh no, there's one thing I haven't done yet, and that I haven't put the lighting effects on the center pockets. Let's do that now. Alright, that's the table done. So now we can move on to the programming and the physics, which I ain't looking forward to. But there we go. Thanks for watching, and watch out for the next install.